Hello and welcome to The Drug Trip. This channel is here to feed the curiosity of those who would like to gain an insight to the effects of various drugs and substances through user experiences and stories, with our main goal being to entertain and reduce harm and abuse. We post regular trip reports every few days, so if you do enjoy these, we would really appreciate it if you subscribed. And more importantly, we love to hear our viewers' thoughts, opinions and experiences, so please leave something for us in the comment section and we may use it in a future video. Enjoy and be safe. This report is a summation of my salvia experiences over the past 4 years. Let me start out by saying it's been an unexpected journey of consciousness changing. At times my experiences have been familiar and seem to echo the reports of many others, while at other times there is no reference to describe the experience, or for some reason no such experience even manifested, despite a rather high dose. When I first heard of salvia, I was intrigued by stories of how it knocked cocky, hardcore drug users on their asses and made them piss their pants. I also became aware of a certain respect that was needed to help guide one through this experience. I was quite nervous on my first attempt, seeing a friend go first and completely freak out. Luckily, he was with myself and 4 others to look after him. My hit actually got sucked through the bubbler prematurely, and I wasn't able to get a good hit. There were too many people waiting to go, so I opted out after my failed attempt. My next attempts were with chewing leaves that I bought online, and smoking these leaves through a corncob pipe. I also smoked an extract purchased online through a bong. Nothing extreme happened. I was quite disappointed. There were nuances of my perspective changing. I would hear music coming from the room above me, and the drums would seem to take me off into a trance, almost like falling into a dream. I would almost see a campfire with a drum circle around it, but as soon as I became aware of the visuals, I would snap back into reality. My next try, I smoked 4 hits of 5X in 1 minute, in front of my buddy, convinced that this would be my breakthrough. This resulted in some uncontrolled laughter, and for some reason I felt like an orc, or Shrek, something like that. Really hard to explain, and I've never experienced this after that one time. But I wasn't ready to give up. The same thing happened to me when I first got into weed as a sophomore in high school. I took 5 different times before I actually got really high, but when I did, Jesus, I was gone. I took around 8 rips off a bong and got up to start walking. I remember feeling a wave of energy run through my body, and it really affected my ability to walk, as if I was in some kind of riptide. The next thing I remember, I was waking up on the ground and people were running up to me to see if I was okay. And coincidentally, on that particular occasion, I blacked out. So to sum this point up, once I actually could get high on weed, it was as if I broke some kind of barrier in my brain, and that shit could really fuck me up. Like once I hallucinated bubbles running through my skin, in my veins, up my arms and around my face. It wasn't painful, it was just very bizarre and awkward. So with salvia, it was kind of like the same thing. It took a lot of tries, but once I broke that barrier, it felt like I was unlocking a special part of my brain. So back to the interesting stuff. At first, salvia was like getting into a trance for me. I had to sit down because after I smoked it, I could not move. My body was like a block of cement, and I would get crazy, pixelating visuals. Nothing of significance. And to be honest, I wasn't really getting anything out of the experience, and I enjoyed smoking weed 100 times more. Sometimes I tried smoking salvia on top of weed, but that just seemed to make the high rather unpleasant. But it wasn't until a couple of more tries that I really broke through. After experimenting with salvia over the last couple of years, I've come to realise many interesting facts that most of my peers or those YouTube kids never really bring up. I know that different people have different experiences, and that's just the way we are, but I often wonder if there is more at play here. These facts that I'm referring to have to do with guiding the experience, almost like preparation and meditating. I find it most important for inexperienced users to realise that you have to let go, give in, and say goodbye to your ego. I've seen too many people say, "It did nothing, this doesn't work, what a waste of time." And that's exactly how I first experienced it, and now I know why I didn't break through all those first times. So upon smoking, I like to take some time to get preparation. I meditate for around 10 minutes. I focus on a goal, or just nothing at all, clearing my mind. No music, most of the time in the dark. I don't usually have a sitter, and honestly, I don't need one. I get the most out of it when I'm laying down in silence. I mean, I can't even move anyway, unless I really try. So I smoke, and I hold it in, and I know it's coming right away. I start to become more aware of myself, my body, its limits and borders, my mind and its current thought patterns, but something else usually happens. I can't really explain in words because I can't really remember how it happens, but I know when I'm there, it's a very familiar feeling. I'm going somewhere else, or trying to at least. I have to let go, let my body go numb, let my awareness transform. It feels good to let go anyway. Sometimes there's a pixelated wave of energy coming in from the left. Usually I start to sweat in really bizarre places, like certain parallel lines throughout my body, or even from the inside of my ears or the spot between my eyes. And this sweating is extreme. It usually starts out hot and then becomes quite cold. I believe that this is part of the process of my conscious energy spirit. But it's so weird, because I never experienced these specialised points of sweat at any other time. This is when I usually become aware of them. Now, I know it seems crazy, but they are inhabitants of another realm. I can't even really see them in familiar terms. I see them as energy beings, but it's more like feeling them there and definitely hearing them. Usually they're saying, "Quick, come, what are you waiting for? Come with us." There's a sense of urgency, but not out of fear, yet excitement, like they want to take me somewhere fun. But very rarely have I actually gone. If it happens, it's right away, and I'm transformed into their world almost instantly. This is where I agree with people that say it feels like zippers. The best way to describe it is if it feels like the boundaries of my body, the skin on my arms, the side of my face, and just everywhere feels like it's merging through a barrier and becoming the landscape of the other realm. Like, for example, my arm becomes a river, and I forget that it used to be my arm. A world emerges from inside me and flips inside out, and somehow my awareness crosses over. They are always there too. It's usually a different setting, a mountain resort, a carnival, a marketplace. It seems like a totally normal world when I'm there. Everything seems so happy too, so alive and energetic, but as soon as I'm there, it's fleeting, and I'm always coming back. A lot of times, I'm actually aware of this other realm and the current reality at the same time. That place is overlaid on this physical reality in my vision. I can perceive both, and if I really focus, I can bring myself back to reality instantly, while the Salvia realm disappears. But this is not the point for me. I want to stay there as long as I can, as long as possible. I try to relax and let myself go as much as possible, because I think it's my body that brings me back. I actually think this could be part of the dying experience. This is actually referenced in James Arthur's book, Peopled Darkness. I know I wasn't influenced by this book because I read it 2 years after having these experiences, but it made sense to me. Consciousness exists in our energy and spirit, and when our physical vessels die, we exist somewhere else. It feels very welcoming too, kind of like the movie What Dreams May Come with Robin Williams. I also didn't realise this movie connection until I saw it after many trips to the Salvia world, but the whole part where he's moving around in a painting is pretty close to the actual experience. I always feel like my true self, like various parts of my mind shut down and I am existing as me, the same me that I was as a child, and the materialistic world just does not seem very important. These personas, these egos, really mean nothing. Some revelations I have from Salvia is that our purpose of existing is to feel good. When we feel this uplifting, loving energy in life, on a soul level, we are moving in the right direction in this physical level. It's like a way to measure our spiritual progress. Words really cannot explain these revelations though, as many may know. Also, I have experienced a sensation that my perception of reality as a human is akin to looking out two-eyed holes and using my head and body to move around and bring into view my reality. At the same time, I've been aware of another reality existing behind me. It was actually attached to it and poking out of that reality through my face to view this one. It sounds weird, but it sounds like in that world, everything is connected, landscape and inhabitants. The physical body allows us to separate and poke out into 3D physicality. There is no separation in the spiritual realm, like we perceive it here in this physical existence. I actually believe that there isn't separation here like we think there is, but our minds do a very good job of shaping and creating this 3D lucid dream that we call life. So one last interesting fact I would like to bring to my story just before we close. I've discovered that being under the influence of alcohol actually enhances and prolongs the experience. I've had a genuine trip for at least 1.5 hours where beings entered my body and existed within me. Like my stomach was a realm for them. They were talking to me. I can distinctly remember 3 with different personalities. One was a very young girl, around 8 years old. Another was an older, wise man. And the third was an adolescent and playful boy. They were basically hanging out, joking around and just swimming around inside me. It felt kinda good, like they were keeping me company. And other times on alcohol, I've experienced being out of my body and moving sideways through a wall. My overall awareness expanded outside the boundaries of the room. One time I actually blacked out instantly, and I can vaguely remember seeing a tunnel of pure white light, and it felt extremely blissful. I barely remember it, but what I do remember was probably the best feeling I have ever experienced, true bliss and love. One of my last times experimenting with Salvia, I actually failed to go anywhere. The same onset sensations happened, the sweating, the change of awareness, but it was weaker. Instead of being aware of them, it was as though my thoughts were intensified, telling me to let go, but it wasn't anyone else, it was a part of me. I was back to normal after 5 minutes of trying to leave. I know it has nothing to do with the dose either. Some of my more powerful experiences have been after some of the smallest doses. I'm excited to continue life and visit the Salvia world every now and then. It truly brings me back to my core, where I know who I am and what I am all about. And I only need to go there every once in a while to remind myself of this and how small this reality is in the bigger scheme of things. And the last point I have to make, because of Salvia, I no longer fear death.